Okay, as soon as I regain my breath from moving around, this is my reading of a story that I made based off a series of pictures from this artist named Kygen. I love these pictures so much that I thought that it should have a story attached to them. I mean, there already is a story attached to them, but a written story attached to them that explains the situation more in detail. I will be replacing character names with names that me and Benjamin came up with. Benjamin's also going to be voicing one of the characters in this story, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, let's get on with the story of Zach's portals. Hope you enjoy. This just in. A number of furs across the city have suddenly developed unusual abilities such as teleportation, portal spells, and growing and shrinking abilities. We ask that for those who have these powers, do not abuse them, for they can be trouble. Use them wisely until our scientists can figure out how to remove these powers. And now on to Carl for the weapon. The TV shut off. Zach the deer and Shawn the rabbit were watching the TV because they received word about these powers everyone in the town has been given. Everyone, including Zach, who has the amazing ability to make portals out of thin air. How else did you think he got the remote that was on the kitchen counter from the couch? Zach was a deer with an orange and light orange body with a white belly. He also had orange hair, gray horns, and a little tail. Shawn, his roommate, was green with a light green belly with black hair and a tail a little smaller than Zach's. Both of them had really long ears, a shared appearance that was one of the reasons they became friends all the way back in 6th grade, 7 years ago. Zach chuckled as he made the portal disappear. Heh, this portal stuff is pretty cool. Shawn nodded in agreement.
It's amazing just to look at.
Both of them lived in a good-sized apartment, but Zach didn't really see the need to use the portals to move around the apartment. He couldn't travel into different rooms because he actually had to look at the spot where he wanted the portal to go. So what really was the need for these portals? But Zach was a prankster. He'd been that way even before he and Shawn became the dynamic duo that they still are today. And he had a great idea on a prank he can pull on him. He summoned the portal about level to his waist and looked behind him. Shawn was at the kitchen table eating a bowl of his favorite cereal, Cereap. He had no idea why it was called such a ridiculous name, but he loved it nonetheless. Zach summoned another portal right next to Shawn's head. The portals were so silent that Shawn didn't even notice the portal or Zach's evil plan. Zach reached his hand into the portal, and his hand appeared out of the portal next to Shawn. It was then that Shawn finally noticed the portal, but it was too late. Zach quickly reached down and grabbed the box of Cereap and tried to pull his hand back out. But Shawn grabbed the box and tried to pry it out of the troublemaker's hands. During this scuffle, Zach couldn't help but laugh at this as he tugged harder on the box, trying to make Shawn let go. But Shawn wasn't going to give up that easily. Shawn quickly jumped up onto the table, which knocked over his 10 o'clock bowl of cereal. But the mess was the last thing either of them were caring about. Once Shawn was on the table, still holding onto the box of Cereap with his left hand, he used his right hand to grab the side of the portal. It was then that Zach realized that Shawn had a plan too. A plan to end this little fight between them. See, this was not the first time that Zach played a prank on Shawn. He played tons and tons of pranks on Shawn that he now knew what kind of pranks Zach would pull, and most importantly, how to get back at Zach. This one was going to require a little acrobatics, but it wasn't hard. His right hand was still holding on to the right side of the portal. He made his left hand let go of the box and reached that hand up to the other side of the portal. He then jumped and swung his feet onto the bottom of his friend's portal. He counted to 3 in his head as he prepared his lunge into the portal. Squeezing through the small space, he locked his angry eyes with Zack as he reached out and grabbed him by the neck. He then pulled his hand and himself down out of the portal, pulling Zack with him. It was then that Zack knew his scheme was over. Shawn pulled Zack through the portal, and as he was almost all the way out, Shawn let go of his friend's neck, and Zack fell forward onto the floor into a small pool of cereal and milk. Shawn had won this fight. He reached down and grabbed his trophy, the box of cereal.
Next time, play that prank on someone else. I'm gonna go make another bowl of cereal. Since you lost, you're cleaning up the mess.
Shawn said through short elapses of breaths. Zack, still laughing hard, just quickly nodded his head, not even paying attention to what he was saying. Shawn rolled his eyes at the troublemaking comedian and started to walk over to the kitchen to make another bowl. This time, after he made it, he put the cereal box back inside the pantry so that this wouldn't happen again. It's been about a month since Zack gained the power to make portals out of thin air. Shawn was getting more and more impressed by how easily he makes these portals. Zack doesn't even have to look at where he wants the portal to go. That means he can now travel to different places using the portal. But Zack still doesn't feel right when he uses the portals to move around. That just sounds lazy to him. But that doesn't mean he's done with the portals, though. Ever since the day he's gained these powers, he's been using them for pranks, cool tricks, and, more prominently, using them to sneak food. Doing a crime like that is easy when you have such quiet portals. Shawn does have to help to actually drop the food into the portal, but, like Zack, Shawn is very sneaky. So now it's been a month of doing all that, and throughout the month, as well as gain the abilities to make all these portals, Zack has also been gaining a bit of weight. It's not anything too serious though, it's just a small little belly. Despite how all these food teleporting tricks have made a small impact on Zack's body, Shawn is still impressed by all these portals, and he thinks that Zack looks funny when his belly sometimes protrudes from his shirt. Today, they're trying out a new trick that Shawn came up with. Zack would spawn a portal right next to Shawn, and he would spawn another portal about a foot above Zack's squishy belly, lay down on the couch angled to how the portal was facing, and open his mouth up wide to catch the cola that Shawn will be pouring into the other portal. Seems easy enough. But Zack was unsure whether or not this would work. I don't know if this is a good idea, Shawn. What if the cola misses my mouth and it spills on the couch? I don't want to clean up another mess. Shawn was still optimistic about this idea.
Come on, Zack. It won't land on the couch. If I do miss, it mostly lands on your belly because your body is covering the spot on the couch. If worse comes to worse, it will land on the floor. And that's not a hard clean, isn't it?
Zack hadn't thought about this. Shawn's right. They didn't have a very wide couch, and his own wide body would cover that space. And this isn't the first time he had to clean that floor. But he chooses not to remember that day when they had that scuffle. I guess you're right, Zack said.
Come on, this is going to be so cool. And we have multiple cans of cola in case you mess up.
So both of them got into position. Zack laid down on the couch and propped his head upon one of the pillows that were on the couch. Shawn ran to the refrigerator and brought out 4 cans of soda and put 3 of them on the coffee table in the living room. Shawn, with the 1 soda can still in his hand, ran behind the couch next to Zack. They were both ready for the trick.
Open wide, Big Cheeks.
Shawn joked. Big Cheeks was a nickname that he gave Zack because Zack had, chubby cheeks. Zack hated that nickname, but he opened his mouth up anyways. Shawn slowly poured the soda into the portal. Zack closed his eyes because he didn't want drops of soda to splash in his eyes. Once the can was almost empty, the soda started to come out on the other side in a bigger stream of fluid. Zach was not expecting such a blast of cola, nor was he expecting the cola to come out so fast. The good news was that the cola landed in his mouth. The bad news was that he started choking. As soon as the intensely flowing cola fell into his mouth, the cola started to instantly go down his throat. Zach immediately started to cough and spit out tons of cola. The cola started to leave his throat as fast as it went down. So soon enough, the cola started to leave his body right out into the couch and the floor. It was then that Shawn realized what was happening and quickly ran over to help his friend. Or at least tried to help his friend. He had no prior knowledge of how to treat someone who was choking, especially if it was caused by his trick. But Shawn still had to help him because he didn't want the situation to get any worse. He grabbed Zach by the front and pushed down on his chest. He did this multiple times until finally the rest of the can of cola came gushing down out of Zach's mouth. While all of this was happening, Zach had no idea what was going on. After all that excitement, he started to slowly fall back onto the couch. Shawn quickly reached over and grabbed a hold of Zach. Zach slowly turned his head around to face his friend, his vision blurred. A few coughs and wheezes came out before he could utter just one sentence. Never again. Zach then slipped out of Shawn's hands and flopped onto the couch. Shawn jumped in shock and quickly ran over to check if his friend was okay. He was still okay, he just passed out from the shock. But Shawn still wanted to call for help. He immediately ran over to the kitchen, snatched up the phone, and quickly called the doctor. It's been about a week since the choking cola problem, as Zach and Shawn called it. The problem wasn't that serious in the end. Zach woke up after a couple of hours. He did a checkup with the doctor, and everything seemed fine with him. After the doctor left, Zach chuckled a little bit about all the adventures that had been happening with these portals, and there was no way that he wanted to stop anytime soon. Shawn, meanwhile, still felt sorry about what happened with his trick, and he promised him that the future tricks wouldn't be as extreme anymore. Zach accepted his apology, as he didn't see why this was anything really bad. A week passed, and they didn't have any new tricks planned. They didn't want to think about any new tricks because neither Shawn nor Zach wanted anything like that to happen ever again. So Zach just continued with his normal antics, using the portals to sneak food and then gorging up on them. It's now gotten to the point where most of his shirts don't fit him anymore. And the ones that did fit didn't last a long time before Zach started to see a familiar belly starting to poke out. At least he didn't have issues anywhere else. All that grew was his belly and his big cheeks. It wasn't until about an hour ago that Zach came up with another trick, but it needed some testing first. While in his room, Zach spawned two portals right next to each other. He threw a baseball into one of the portals, and it came out of the other one. Then he did another test. He left those two portals where they were, and then he turned around. He tried, and managed to make a third portal right in front of the second one. Then, he made a fourth portal as part of the line of portals he made with the first and second one. His theory was that if he threw something into the first portal, it would come out of the second portal. It would then fly to the third portal and out of the fourth portal. He tested his theory, and he was exactly right. This gave him an idea. What if he made a series of several portals that would lead a food item, like a piece of popcorn, from one portal to another in a chain reaction that would make it eventually fall into his mouth? It was worth a shot.
So, this is the new trick you came up with?
Shawn said after seeing Zach suddenly rush into the kitchen, as fast as he can, and telling him all about his new plan. Zack nodded.
And you're sure this will work?
Of course it'll work, it's only popcorn.
Okay then, sounds fun.
Shawn walked over to the pantry and pulled out a bag of unpopped movie theater butter popcorn. Zack walked over to the living room and lay down on the couch waiting for Shawn. He put it in the microwave for a minute and a half and came out with a bowl full of popcorn. Shawn walked over to the couch and sat down on the opposite side of Zack. Zack spawned the portal right next to Shawn and then started to go crazy. He started to place portals in every kind of direction, but always having another portal right in front of it so that the trick would work. Shawn couldn't help but still be amazed by how effortlessly he was making these portals appear everywhere. Once he was done, he had 12 portals made, with 5 pairs of portals put next to each other. "You ready?" Zack asked.
I guess.
Shawn shrugged. He took a piece of popcorn from the bowl, dropped it into the portal, and looked up at the other portals to see if it successfully traveled. The plan worked perfectly. The popcorn traveled from one portal to the next, and one to the next, and one to the next, all the way until it reached the portal that was in front of Zack. Zack opened his mouth up wide, but he still didn't prepare for the piece of popcorn to appear so quickly. The popcorn hit his chin and bounced onto the couch. "Aw, man, I missed!" Zack exclaimed. "But that was cool, wasn't it?" Shawn rapidly nodded his head.
It was amazing. I can't even believe that was even possible.
Shawn was so excited to see it again that he immediately dropped in another piece of popcorn into the portal. Zack quickly opened his jaw to try to catch it again, but this time it went too high and it bounced off his nose. "Darn it! This is pretty hard!" Zack shouted. Zack scooted himself a little bit higher, opened his mouth a little bit wider, and stuck his tongue out to see if he can catch the popcorn piece on his tongue. Shawn once again dropped a piece of popcorn into the portal, but this time he dropped in another piece of portal right after he dropped the first one. So now Zack was expected to catch 2 pieces of popcorn. Zack leaned forward and caught both pieces of popcorn as soon as it left the portal. "Woohoo!" Zack raised his hands in the air. Shawn smiled at his friend's celebration. Shawn once again started dropping pieces of popcorn in, but this time he started going crazy, dropping a ton of popcorn one by one. Zack didn't catch all the pieces of popcorn, obviously, but they were just having a laugh and making fun of this amazing trick. The Zack Shawn knew was back, and this was just the beginning of a new life for him. Two weeks have gone by, and a lot has changed during those 14 days. Scientists have figured out how furs who had teleportation spells got those powers, and they plan on extracting the powers from them on June the 7th. They have yet to figure out how to get rid of the growing and shrinking powers, X-ray vision, mind reading, telekinesis, and portal spells. They may not want to get rid of them, because another major change is that furs are now starting to get accustomed to their new powers. Many say that these powers actually make their lives easier. X-ray vision is helping some policemen find weapons or drugs more effectively, since their vision allows them to see through clothes. Shrinking powers are helping furs fit through tiny spaces or make them feel lighter, while growing powers are helping smaller furs reach anything high off the ground. Mind readers are making tons of bucks because of their ability to actually read minds. And telekinesis is helping lazy furs reach things that are just out of reach. But one of the biggest impacts on the city are the portal spells. Some of the portal abilities are put into the wrong hands. Some criminals are using these new powers to steal gold, jewels, money, and, in Zack's case, lots and lots of food. As soon as he found out how to spawn portals in different areas without having to look at the spots of where he wanted to put them, and finding out how to spawn portals in grocery stores, restaurants, and supermarkets, Zack has been constantly spawning portals everywhere, and, with the help of Shawn, stealing all the sweets and treats from wherever they can think of. It's starting to become a problem for those supermarkets and restaurants, and Zack's body. Zack's bulging belly and chubby cheeks have grown at a record rate ever since he started to take food from all these places. Food like hamburgers, chicken, french fries, ice cream, cake, donuts, candy, pizza, donuts, and more donuts. Zack's gut was noticeable before, but now it was hard not to ignore it. No matter how many shirts he went through in his closet, he couldn't find any more shirts that fit him like they used to. But his growing belly was the least of his worries. As far as he cares, he wants to let that belly grow and grow, as long as he keeps on doing his mischievous habits. Shawn doesn't care about this either. Right now, he's having the time of his life, going on these risky adventures and feeding his friend's stomach. Zack's perfect body may be gone, but his spirit is still there. This past month has been quite a ride for Zack. Every single hour from the time he woke up to the time he goes to bed is filled with getting his belly filled. The ability to fit his gut in any of his shirts is long gone, but that's the least of his cares. He believes that when other furs see his belly poking out, they'll take it as a sign of dedication. He can also tell that they're surprised to see him whenever he has a mountain of food in his arms. Food like soda, sandwiches, pizza, hot dogs, ice cream, chocolate, and any kind of food you can think of. His big cheeks have gotten bigger, his belly has obviously gotten wider, and his butt is close to covering his tiny little tail. He's having to make portals wider just so that he can fit his entire body through. Shawn is getting more and more impressed by how well he's managing to get all this grub. So much so that he tries to one-up how much food he's getting, which almost makes grabbing food more of a competition. And Shawn isn't even eating any of it. He just gives it to Zack and he just gorges up on it, which in result makes his belly grow and grow. Zack and Shawn are having the time of their lives, and they both think that this is the way to live. Shawn is almost tempted to try and join in on the action, but he doesn't want to do it as fast as Zack. At least Zack is willing enough to let this happen. He never really was the definition of a healthy buck. He was always the kind of lazy type, but not too lazy, and he always loved to eat snack after snack after snack. But now he's taking it to the extreme, and he honestly couldn't be happier of how he's living. It was a nice and warm day, but Zack wasn't outside. He was sitting on the couch relaxing his massive body. His butt is already taking up over half of the couch. He was just watching the TV with a bag of chips right beside him. He would occasionally reach down and grab a handful of chips and shove them into his mouth. As soon as he ran out of chips, he would just reach into his portal that led right next to the pantry and grab another full bag of chips. He was about to close his eyes to take a nap when he heard the front door open and close. He turned around to see who was there and saw a familiar green rabbit locking the door with a huge bag in his hands.
Hey, Zack!
Shawn called. Yeah? Zack answered.
Guess what I bought you?
What?
I bought you donuts.
Sweet! Did you get the pink frosting ones? Shawn nodded. Awesome! Thanks, man! Shawn nodded again. He laid the bag from Big Donk's Donuts down on the kitchen counter and pulled out 2 boxes. He left the boxes on the counter, threw the bag away into the trash along with the other bags and candy wrappers, and walked towards his room.
Have fun with that.
Shawn called from the hallway. Zack heard the door close to his room. He was probably sleepy, Zack thought. Zack looked behind the couch at the donuts. To him, the donuts seemed miles away. despite it only being about 20 feet away. Man, why did he have to put him so far away? Zack said to himself. I'm not getting out of this couch just to get a few donuts. So Zack came up with an idea. He got rid of the portal that was next to the pantry and spawned the portal right above both of the boxes of donuts. Reaching inside, he found out that there were 8 donuts in both boxes. A little less compared to the box of a dozen he normally got. But there were 2 boxes, so that added up to 16 donuts, which meant more for Zack. As soon as he grabbed hold of a donut, he pulled his hand out and held the pastry between his lips. He reached down again and grabbed another donut. Zack released the first donut from his lips and started chowing down on those delectable treats. After he finished those, he reached down for more. Every single donut made him more and more happy. Donut after donut he ate until he finished both boxes in just 6 minutes. It was then that Zack realized that he reached a new level of laziness. He had no thought of even leaving the couch anymore. He never realized that living this way was this easy and this useless. But what was the point anymore? He now has a way of getting whatever he wants, and he doesn't even have to get up. And it seemed like this lifestyle wasn't going to end anytime soon. Even though it's already been 3 months since he first got these powers, scientists are still not even close to a solution on how to get rid of them, or even how they work. These 3 months have seen a major change to Zack's lifestyle, his body, and his diet. 3 months ago, he never could have even imagined that anyone would live like this. But now he doesn't see why nobody's trying this. With this way of life, you would never have to work. You would never have to worry about responsibilities. And most importantly, you'd never go hungry. This is the way to live, and Zack was willing to let his belly, his cheeks, and his butt grow bigger and bigger until he couldn't even move anymore. As he finished his last donut, he licked his lips, grabbed a remote from the couch, turned off the TV, let his eyelids slide down, and took a well-deserved nap. This is KPIX Nightly News with Max Holf. Good evening, everyone. Our top story comes from Foxville, a small town in somewhere. It's there that some furs are gaining weird superpowers seemingly out of nowhere. Powers like teleportation, growing and shrinking, telekinesis, mind reading, and portal spells. One hoodlum with the portal abilities, only identified by his hands, is using those portal spells to steal food from grocery stores, restaurants, and factories, and they're not the only one. But more on that in a moment. Hoodlum? Who's he calling a hoodlum? Zack shouted. Shawn laughed.
Maybe he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Exactly. I'm not a little thief.
Yeah, you're not a little thief. You're a big one.
The rabbit burst out laughing. Zack rolled his eyes and reached down to grab a green tub of ice cream. Earlier that night, they raided a small ice cream store, Minty Chip, and snatched half of their supply. Before they left, Shawn thought it would be funny to leave an IOU note on one of the shelves. Shawn taped the note on the top shelf, and they both left laughing at the little joke that they pulled. Zack was still laughing to himself about that round of mischief. Zack placed a tub of ice cream on top of his belly, which was surprising because normally people can't do that. Zack scooped a big spoonful into the ice cream and ate the whole spoonful in one gulp. Minty chocolate chip, my favorite.
Oh, really? Well, my favorite has got to be strawberry.
Shawn reached down and grabbed a pink tub of the icy cream and ate his own spoonful. Only a couple minutes after he started, Zack finished the entire pint of his minty dessert, while Shawn wasn't even halfway done with his.
Wow, dude, I'm impressed by how quickly you finished that whole thing. You should enter an eating competition.
Shawn said, but Zack shook his head. No can do. I snack for enjoyment, and I don't rush enjoyment. Shawn shrugged and continued eating while Zach started eating another tub of mint chocolate chip ice cream. At this point in his life, his belly was never full. The order name is Zach. Z-A-C-H. Zach said on the phone to a restaurant which he was ordering food from. At the same time, he was refilling a drink from another restaurant at a soda machine. Some of the drink spilled on someone else, and they started to get really mad. After hearing the food has been made at the other restaurant, he reached down another portal he made and grabbed a bag full of food, which gave the employees quite a shock. He then dropped some money through the portal and closed it. That way, he technically paid for his food. In the other portal, the angry fur was threatening to throw his own drink at Zach's hand, so he quickly pulled it out and closed the portal. Zach has been training himself to handle two different things at once now that he had some time to practice with the portals. He was still a little rough at it, but at least nothing really bad happened. Right after he closed that portal, another portal opened, and Shawn walked through, carrying a large stack of pizza boxes.
Where should I place these, Tubbs?
Over there with the others, Zach answered. Shawn walked over to the apartment wall and set the boxes down next to a bigger stack Shawn collected earlier. They wanted to get a lot of food since it was Zach's 19th birthday today.
Zach, you can go ahead and close this portal. I emptied it out, and I left another IOU in there.
Zach closed the portal behind him. You know we're not owing them anything, right?
Yeah, I know. I just like them to get mad at the cheeky little note I leave there.
Zach just nodded. Shawn looked around at all the bags of food that Zach collected.
Well, what's all this? I thought we were just having a pizza party, well, a duo party.
Oh, it's just stuff I decided to get for our party.
Okay, where did all this come from, and why are there so many bags?
I got them from the local fast food places, and my belly wanted a lot of food today, so I decided to listen to its call and got all this.
Right.
Shawn walked back over to the pizza boxes and took a box from the top.
So you want to get this party started?
Sure, get me a box. Actually, make it 2 boxes. Shawn walked over and grabbed 2 more boxes from the stack and dropped them on Zach's rotund gut. Shawn chuckled at the way that both boxes stayed on top of his stomach. Shawn sat down and opened up his box. As soon as he opened it, the familiar smell of pizza wavered out and into his nose. Shawn could just imagine the taste of the bread, tomato sauce, cheese, and pepperoni. He tore off a slice and let the cheese stretch out until the cheese strands broke and left the strands dangling off the side of the pizza slice. He fed it into his mouth, and it was like taking a bite into heaven.
This is delicious,
Shawn said with pizza in his mouth. Zach opened up one of his boxes and the familiar scent reached his nostrils. He instantly shoved a slice into his mouth and immediately reached for another one. Shawn chuckled at the sight.
Man, you're not even letting yourself even know what you're eating?
Zach tried to respond, but there was too much pizza in his mouth, which made his speech incomprehensible. Little bits of meat and pepperoni were flying out of his mouth. Shawn then started to laugh even more. He had never seen anything so ridiculous like this before. Then Zach started to smile and laugh as well. This is the most fun that they had in a while. They hoped that this fun would never stop. This is still only the beginning, and things were beginning to get a lot more crazy. Tonight was finally going to be Halloween night. This was the night that Zach and Shawn were waiting on for months. Tonight was going to be the biggest heist that they have ever done, or probably ever will do. Tonight, Shawn will be going to supermarkets, grocery stores, pharmacies, candy stores, and every single place you can imagine big bags of candy being at. Shawn would spawn a portal on the floor and then push and shove all the bags and boxes of candy down and into their apartment and fall into piles surrounding Zach. As soon as they were done, they would go all in, snacking on gumdrops, gummy worms, gummy bears, chocolate bars, hard candy, lollipops, gum, taffy, and every kind of candy you can think of. This was going to be the most exciting moment of their lives, and they had only one shot at this. For fun, they decided to wear costumes as well. It was like they were doing some kind of extreme trick-or-treating. Shawn dressed up as a devil because of the deviant schemes he would be pulling today, and Zach dressed up as a scarecrow, even though he's not even leaving the apartment. Shawn turned to Zach, who was feeling as excited as he was.
Are you ready to get the biggest stash of candy in the whole world?
Shawn asked. Zach nodded. This is going to be so exciting, and I'm going to have a belly full of sweets and treats after this. Shawn laughed. Zach looked towards the ceiling and spawned a portal right against it. Now, Shawn, remember, you want to be as fast as you can, but also grab as much candy as you can as well. I don't want us to get caught, or for any candy to go to waste.
Trust me, man. It won't. At least if it's your candy.
This made Zach laugh as well. Zach then pictured what the first store looked like, and made a portal appear on the ground of that store. There's your cue. Remember, be quick and thorough. Repeat that in your head. Quick and thorough. Shawn nodded and jumped into the portal. He came up from the floor of the first store and managed to land on his feet. That took a little practice to master, since your mind gets confused when you're only able to view your surroundings in a limited amount of time. But Shawn managed to land on the floor without having to stumble to regain his balance. Hey, Zach called from the apartment. Are you at the store now?
Yes, the plan worked perfectly,
Shawn called out. Alright, go ahead and push the candy down. I'm hungry. Shawn looked at the shelves to his right. There were so many different types of Halloween-themed candy in big boxes of black and orange. Shawn slid his hand in between two boxes and knocked one of the boxes down.
Watch your head!
Shawn called out. Right as he said that, the box fell into the other side of the portal and landed right behind Zach. Whoa, that was close, Zach gasped. Shawn then started to reach his arm behind all of the boxes of candy until it reached the edge of the portal and into their living room. Shawn then started work on all the shelves below until he reached the very bottom. That was one half of the shelves done. Now he had to work on the other half. Shawn started to quickly take boxes from the other shelves and drop them into the portal one by one. This wasn't the best method for sneaking the boxes, but it was all they could do, because even portals have limits. As soon as he got every single box down inside the portal, he started to look around for other candy. But before he could get a good view, he spotted an employee coming right towards where he was. As soon as he saw this, Shawn jumped into the portal and landed on the couch in their apartment.
Close it!
He shouted. Why? Zach asked confused.
Just close it!
Shawn yelled again. Zach closed the portal just in time for the employee to reach the aisle Shawn was in. Shawn let out a sigh of relief. Zach turned towards Shawn. What was that all about? Did the plan not work?
Yeah, it worked. I just almost got caught with one of the employees.
So do you still want to keep going?
Of course, I'm still having fun. I just need time to breathe.
Oh, okay. You want some candy while you're still breathing?
Yeah, thanks.
They sat there for a while until Shawn went into another store. They did this back and forth for a couple of hours until they finally had the finished stash of candy. The plan was a success, and it's surprising how they didn't even get caught. This was a sign of them getting better and better at their mischievous deeds. For the rest of the night, they went all in on the candy until only 1/8 of it was gone by midnight. Zach really was hungry for those sweets. It's been a couple days since Thanksgiving. Zach and Shawn went over to see Zach's parents. who already knew what Zack was doing, and they had a delicious Thanksgiving feast. Zack's huge belly has been getting even larger. Even Shawn has been gaining a few since Halloween. They just finished their Halloween candy yesterday, and now they were looking for something else to fill their gap in their stomachs. 2 days ago, they stole a popcorn machine from a movie theater close by. Every day since then, they have been stockpiling on buckets and buckets of popcorn. They also have been getting the usual donuts and soda from stores and gas stations. Unsurprisingly, the gas stations were easy to steal from. Zack's hand is still only what people see when he's on his greedy escapades, and he's hardly out in public, so no one has been able to identify him yet. Shirts have become useless to Zack, but he still chooses to wear them since he doesn't feel comfortable with his shirt completely off. Shawn is starting to have the same problem Zack had about 6 months ago. Shawn's still surprised on how Zack was rubbing off on him. Now he was starting to become big cheeks. But despite all that, they still don't care about any of their wardrobe malfunctions, or any of their furniture problems. Zack's butt is now taking up about 2/3 of the couch space, and Shawn is taking up the rest. Whenever Zack sits down, Shawn gets kind of launched upward, since the legs of the couch are starting to fail under Zack's weight. It's almost like he's sitting on the ground. Zack still chooses to remain on the couch as long as he can. For the past 4.5 months, Zack chose to live on the couch. His gut has been growing faster and faster since he hasn't gotten any exercise since April. Now it's November, and his lack of exercise is certainly showing. Still, after realizing all this, it hasn't affected these two in the slightest. Even if Zack's belly soon becomes a new couch, he still considered this the best way to live. And who knows, maybe around Christmas time, he could become the new Santa Claus. The new year is about to arrive. Throughout December, little kids have been following Zack around thinking he is Santa, just not in costume. But Zack absolutely does not give any presents or actually anything to anyone. He's not Santa, but he's also not mean as Scrooge. He, or at least his hands, has become known as the Food Bandit, and Zack actually loves that name. He's now known as this mysterious character that inhabits the town and is able to steal your goodies in the blink of an eye. He's only known by his chubby hands since he can't fit through any doors or portals, which is true, and some believe he doesn't even exist. These stories are now causing the scientists to work harder and harder to get rid of the portal spells before they even start doing anything else, so that the town can go back to normal. The mayor of the town is waiting day after day until someone finally catches the bandit, so he can finally remove those powers from him. But Zack doesn't know about any of the rumors. He still thinks that whenever people see him, they're surprised because they haven't seen a deer this big before. Nobody else other than the employees and the friends of the employees know about these rumors, so it hasn't even reached the papers yet. But when it does, Zack is in for a big surprise. Our story tonight is a big one, literally. I'm Mr. Kibble, America's favorite news dog, and our story comes from the north part of the United States. It's now been 9 months since residents in this town have started to gain crazy powers from seemingly out of nowhere. Recent studies have shown how this happened, however. A small gas leak from the power plant in the small town of Foxville have caused residents living near the plant to gain these powers. Some of these powers have not been used for good things, unfortunately. One unknown deer, only identified by his chubby hands, has been known to go on these heists just to get food. The mayor and the police have been notified, and they're planning to do something about this. The mayor said that if he was found, he would not be put in jail because he's not really doing anything wrong with getting food with these portals, because he actually pays for most of the meals he gobbles up on. He decided to let the scientists go with the police and disable his powers like they did with other furs in this town. Considering how frequently he gets food, he must be bigger than his own couch. Zack turned the TV off and sighed. He looked down at his gigantic belly that was blocking his legs from his view. He didn't want those scientists to take away his powers. He'd been having so much fun over the past couple of months. More fun than he had or ever could have. He looked to his left. Piles upon piles of empty donut boxes, pizza boxes, and candy wrappers were almost covering the floor. The piles continued to the right of him. He needs to ask Shawn if he could take care of all this trash. Shawn has slowly become his caretaker since he hasn't been able to get up from the couch for a really long time. But Shawn wasn't here right now. He was on another one of his sneaky adventures, getting more food for Zack and himself. On the wall to his right were several posters of him, portraits, drawings, and a huge poster of him winning a pie-eating contest and being awarded the Biggest Eater trophy. His half-shirtless belly was resting on the table with stacks of plates surrounding him. His shirt wasn't really a shirt anymore. It looked more like a bra since his belly has gotten way too big to be able to fit his shirt over the majority of his belly. He looked back at the TV. He was about to turn it back on to see if he could find anything else that was happening on the news when he suddenly felt his phone vibrate under his belly. He reached down to grab his phone to see who it was. It was his good friend Kygen the kangaroo. Kygen was a blue roo with a light blue underbelly with long feet and a long tail. He had ears a lot bigger than Zack's and was very soft and fluffy. He also had a bit of a chubby belly going on as well, but he doesn't like to talk about it very much. He was a painter during the day, but at home he loved to make many different types of desserts and pastries, especially pies. Zack smiled at his name and answered the phone. Hello? Zack, how have you been? It's been a while. How have those adventures been going on for you? Kygen answered. Oh, they've gone great, even though Shawn has been doing most of them since I haven't been able to get up from the couch in a while. Ooh, so you've been gaining quite a bit since we last spoke, haven't you? Yeah, I've just been sitting here on the couch just stuffing myself up with food, but I have no complaints. I guess you won't be able to come over to my house then, huh? No, I can still come over. Well, half of me will be able to come over, since I've gotten way too big to fit through my portals all the way. What are you planning over there? Well, I was thinking about making a couple of cakes to fill your round belly up a little more. Does that sound fun to you? Zack's eyes lit up with excitement. Of course that sounds fun. I'll be right over. Alright, see you then. He hung up the phone and immediately tried to get up from the couch. It took a bit of work, but he finally was able to get up. As soon as he got up, he instantly fell down onto all fours. His belly was just way too heavy to support him, and it had also been a while since he even got up from the couch. He slowly turned around to face the wall that was behind him and poured a portal on that wall. He then pictured in his head what Kygen's house looked like and tried to find a place there that he could put the portal. You had to have a good mind to properly use these portals. He found a spot on the wall right inside the kitchen. He made the portal appear there and looked towards the portal that he had on the wall. He saw the familiar look of the Roo's kitchen and slowly began to crawl across the apartment and into the portal. He knew he would only manage to get halfway through the portal, but he wanted to make sure he was in his house far enough to reach the island that was in the middle of the kitchen. He managed to get at least his hands on the island without getting himself stuck in the portal. He wanted to have a little room for his belly so that when his belly started to stretch out from all the cake he would be eating, He wouldn't have to struggle so hard to pull himself out in case Shawn still wasn't home when he wanted to leave. When Zach got comfortable, he saw Kygen walk into the kitchen. He suddenly stopped, and his eyes popped open when he saw Zach. He slowly walked over to get a look at the whale of a friend he had. "Oh my goodness! When I heard that you've gotten big, I did not expect this," he laughed. "How'd you get so big so fast?" Zach chuckled. "Oh, I just ate a couple truckloads of food," he joked. "Do you even still have room in that huge gut of yours?" Kygen asked, still in shock. "Well, during these past couple of months, I found out that I always have room for more." Kygen walked over to the island and squeezed his chubby muscles. "Whoa, this feels so weird." He leaned onto the island and reached out his hands to squish both of his cheeks. "Damn, this feels really weird." Kygen slid back down to the floor and took a good look at him. He had never seen such a chonk in his life, and he even knew people who were bigger than himself. He lost himself in thought about the lumps and lumps of fat on Zach, and then suddenly a beat from the oven woke him up from his daydream. He turned around, almost tripping himself over his long tail, and grabbed a pair of oven mitts. He opened the oven, and the warm smell of vanilla cake instantly filled the room. Zach breathed in the aroma of the cake and got even more excited about eating it. Kygen began pulling out the several layers of cake from the oven and started to stack one on top of the other until there were 4 layers stacked on top. "I forgot to call you earlier to ask how many layers you wanted, so knowing you, I went ahead and made one of the more taller cakes I've made. Is that okay with you?" the kangaroo asked. "That's more than okay. That makes me more hungry." He smiled, and then he started to put icing on the cake. After a short while, he had a wonderful looking cake, covered with white vanilla frosting, with pink strawberry frosting ribbons, and a ring of strawberries on top of each layer. He placed it on the island and slid it towards Zach. "Dig in," he said, as he watched to see how Zach would eat this monster size of a cake. He dove right in and started to chomp down again and again and again on that cake. Zach was so hungry that he didn't even care how he looked while he ate his big dessert. His belly wobbled and grew as he voraciously stuffed his face with the giant tower. Kygen was impressed by how fast and effortlessly he was eating this cake he spent hours and hours baking, that he wanted to see more, so he went straight to work on making another huge cake. Shawn walked in through a portal Zach already made for him with a big stack of boxes in his hands. He set them down on the floor and wiped the sweat from his face. He looked around the apartment and saw a bunch of cake and drips of frosting all over the place. He then set his eyes on the wall, or where the wall was supposed to be. In its place, he saw the ginormous butt of Zach poking out through a portal that led to somewhere else. He shrugged his shoulders and assumed that his big friend was busy eating something else, so he loaded the rest of the boxes of pies that he got from his journey for food. After he was done, he slowly walked toward his room and flopped down on his bed to take a long and deserved nap. Zach was still having fun with Kygen, and this fun lasted through the whole night. It's amazing to think that Zach would still have an appetite for more food after the feast made for a fat king was over. There are just some things that are hard to understand. The only food that Zach has been eating yesterday and today is donuts. He's been going on a donut binge while Shawn helped shove them in his mouth. Strawberry, blueberry, chocolate, glazed, cream-filled, and every other flavor they could find. Boxes of donuts are laid out everywhere, and all the pastries are being stored inside Zach's ever-growing belly. This morning, they made the biggest addition to the apartment they have ever made. they got a huge steel container of 10 gallons of soda. They tried the whole day to try and get a long tube from the container to a portal and into Zach's mouth. After much trial and error, they finally succeeded in getting that tube set up. Zach also was finally able to do a trick they tried before, having one stream of soda go from the portal and into Zach's mouth, but in more extreme amounts. So now they had a popcorn machine, a huge container of soda, and an unlimited supply of chips, donuts, and other sweets. Zach's belly has finally gotten too big for the couch, and the belly had gotten too big for the couch to even support him. The couch supports finally bent and slipped down to the floor. Now that's certainly an effective way to get rid of a couch. It has officially been 1 whole year since Zach gained his powers, and throughout those 12 months, he has grown quite a bit. So has Shawn, who only just began 6 months ago. Their friendship has gotten even stronger than it was a year ago as well. Zach has become a little more reliant on him to take care of him, and he appreciates his company. Shawn also appreciates how Zach has become the new couch since he smashed the other one. Shawn often falls asleep on his belly because even though the belly certainly blimped up, it was still nice and soft and a perfect substitute for a couch. Zach looked past his neck rolls at his sleeping friend. He smiled, then started to close his eyes and rest his head on his literal neck pillow. He was completely blissful and unaware of anything else happening in the world. He never even noticed the police and scientists come in and stare shocked at his huge physique. He never noticed his powers being taken away from him. He never noticed the soda machine, the popcorn machine, or the supply of food being taken away. And he never noticed that Kygen had And Zach never even noticed that Kygen had gotten on the front page of the local newspaper for how much he blimped up since Zach last met him. But those are problems that he would have to face later. For right now, he was enjoying the last day of his delicious year-long feast.
The end.
Hello everyone! Thank you for listening to my story. It took a long time to make and record and edit, certainly. And I hope you enjoyed my writing, because it was a lot of fun to write, and it certainly improved the way I write now. And I would like to thank school for teaching me how to write. But, yeah, this story was a little weird, but that's what we do here at HMNIJ. We do weird things, sometimes cringy things, but mostly weird things at HMNIJ. And if you like the weird and unusual, why don't you just go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It's the best decision to make. Like this video and ring that bell, ring-a-ling-a-ling, to get notifications on our latest videos. Anyways, we will see you next time. And sorry for not uploading for a long time, but I'll improve. We have some Minecraft videos coming soon, so don't miss it. Alright, how do I stop?